this lady, Sarah, was scammed by this gentleman, Kieran, using this fake AI created website. And we caught him in 3 steps by tracing it back to this GitHub, looking at the back of the code to find this email address, and then we linked this email address to this eBay, to this full name, address, date of birth, mobile number. But let me walk you through it properly. Sarah, unfortunately, her mum died, left the farm to Sarah, as we live in the UK, whose inheritance tax bill. But Sarah's mum was smart, left her some jewellery, said, sell this jewellery, pay for the tax bill. She did. Well, she went to. She done a bit of Googling, found a reputable company, although she thought they were family run and somewhat local, had glowing reviews, got a quote. The quote was enough to cover the tax bill and even pay for the cowsheds or whatever due. So she sent the jewellery to this company. 1 day, 3 days, 7 days, absolute crickets. So panicking, she re-Googled the company, which was a real company, and found a different number. Called that number, spoke to a customer service advisor. They didn't know who Sarah was. Managing director got on the phone, told Sarah that, unfortunately, you've been a victim to a scam. We've had a few complaints recently, and we believe a serious organised crime unit has gone through this quite sophisticated attack process to create a new website, trick people sending it to jewelry to them rather than us. So they hired a private investigator. And, there are many different ways in which to look at this, but this is how I solved it. So initially pulled the website apart just to see what tangible information is there on that site. Found a number of emails and mobile numbers, and mind you, they were hidden. They weren't just you can't just log onto the website. They were hidden in some pages, like the WhatsApp. It was like a bit of a process to scrape the back end to try and find this WhatsApp number. All of it dead end, all of it set up for one-time use for the purpose of scamming people. But if you look hard enough, there's always breadcrumbs in different ways, in different directions. For this particular occasion, it was just quite abundantly clear that the site had been made by AI. And once, if you know how these new AI sites are created, generally speaking, they are, because website is just code. So AI creates this code. Code gets put onto something like GitHub, and then from GitHub it's pushed to the internet. If that doesn't make sense, let me explain it in a simpler way. If you think of a website the same as you would think as a cake is just a recipe and ingredients. A website is just code and instructions to put that code together to make this. So to make a cake, this is the cake that Sarah saw. And the individual that created this site didn't know how to bake. So he had to get a machine to do it for him. The only issue with getting a machine to do it for you is, in order to push it to baking, to push it to a cake, you have to post it on a public notice board for the machine to do this process. And that, in this instance, is something called GitHub. So I had a pretty good inkling that this source was on GitHub at some point. And let me take you there. So this is GitHub, and to go from website to GitHub is not sexy in the slightest. It is just an abundant trial and error process. So this is what the website is called. I just started by searching this into GitHub, searching the name of the company, searching different variations, W&H, Whit Hart, Hart Whitlock, just loads and loads and loads and loads of different variations of this name to see if any of what is in this site is present on any code within GitHub. And lo and behold, after many trial and error attempts, we got to this GitHub account here. owned by Mercury Builds. What drew me to it was WH site, which is incredibly broad, incredibly vague. But when you click on it, go into the ingredients of this website, there's a link here. Now, this is the start build of this scam website. So I was pretty confident that whoever owned this GitHub account created this first attempt at this final scam site. And if we look at the account history, it tells a little bit of a story. So this account was created not that long ago. First things first, they created this test. They'd obviously seen the power of AI, wanted to test it out, and when this loads, they done just that. So they just created a test website. And from the looks of this, they had the dabble of an idea of starting a business of trying to create websites and sell them on. So they've created this website, whatever standard website. And then quite quickly after that, they've created a second source code ingredient, WH site. They've obviously realized how easy it is to create a website, had the thought process of, if it's that easy to create a website, how can I shortcut the business process and just copy someone else's website and steal their customers? They've started doing it, realized that they can do it, and then they have left these two public, but then made a private source code section where they've created this scam site. I hope that makes sense. But we have this account now. We know this is the scammer on this account. There isn't really too much information about him on here. But from what I was saying earlier, to get a machine to make a recipe ingredients website for you, one of the ways, there's no shortcut around it, is when that recipe is posted on that public notice board, on the back of the recipe piece of paper is the owner's name and email address. Now, this is the public facing side, and this is public, but just not many people know how to lift up that page and look underneath it and see the name and email. So I'm going to show you. So this is the website. There are the ingredients. If we deep dive into the ingredients a little bit more, we can see this is the contact page they created. This is the branding of the page. Let's click into the contact page. Again, find details of ingredients. Doesn't look too awe-inspiring or mental or crazy, but here's a trick that not many people know. Go to the URL, go to the end, type .patch, and it shows you the website in a different way. The ingredients doesn't really make much sense, but we see at the top here, Kieran and a Gmail. Brilliant, had the personal email, great bit of information, but is it enough? Not always. To give this to the police, they always require it on a platter. Police are understaffed, under-resourced, whatever. So we need to enrich it. We need to find more information. We need to be absolutely sure who owns this email address to give it to the police. So we turn to what's called data breached information. Every day, companies are hacked. You meet everyone. All of our personal data is stolen. And then it's generally dumped into like the dark web, Telegram accounts, sometimes just in random corners of the internet, in the deep internet. And there's companies that collect all of this information up. I don't want to call it a grey area, because stealing data, illegal. Data is put in the public. That's public information now. In the UK of data protection, there's certain circumstances where you're allowed to review it, and the circumstances we can't. So if you're researching, majority of my work I do is like online security. So I find a client's personal data online. That's research, that's fine. You help them clean it up, help them stay protected. In terms of like investigations, generally speaking, does using that data help prevent a crime, or does it help you investigate a crime? Obviously, case in point here, investigating a crime. But 2014, eBay was hacked. DarkSide is one of the expensive databases which accumulate all this data breach information. I searched this email in their database, and it came back with the full details of who scammed Sarah out of over £100,000, as well as many others. packaged it up, gave it to the client, which get pushed on to the police. So I give this example because I don't do this private investigation work anymore. I do the online security aspect of it. But it showcases the breadcrumbs of information that we leave behind, which we don't realize is left behind. And if this isn't clear already, I'll just say it now. This is all fake, reconstructed information, real case, real methodology. That GitHub, that website, I've brought new domains, created new emails, set that up so you can view it firsthand. And it all makes a lot more sense then. But this guy set out to scam people. He obviously, without a shadow of a doubt, did not want his personal details online to be found, obviously. But it's scary how much data we leave behind that we don't know about. And that's the whole premise of Barnville. It is, we'll act like a bad person to find all the information that you have left on behind, which someone like Kieran could use to violate your life. And then most importantly, we'll clean it up. So we map it, we clean it, and keep a watchful eye on it. That's it. Dramatically reduces your chances of online scams, fraud, social engineering, doxing, harassment, cyber stalking, all of the above. Appreciate your time. Thank you very much.